please verify your information. I had to fill a lot of forms. Can definitely do this without an agent. No, I did not just have to book my appointment. I'm so sorry for that. Hey sweethearts, my name is Okwelum Hepzibah and you're welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am an international student based in Manchester. I'm also a content creator based in Manchester, and today we'll be diving into my relocation process. So I'm going to give you all the tea regarding how I decided on the course I wanted to study, university I wanted to go to, all the things I needed to do in order to get my visa, all the steps I had to take after getting my visa, and then getting my accommodation as well. And I have my notebook with me just so I don't go out of scope. I hope you're ready for all the tea I'm about to dish out. I'm doing my master in digital marketing at the University of Salford in Manchester. So anything I'm going to tell you now would be my experience, my whole experience moving from Nigeria to the UK. So first I had to decide on course to study. So I did my undergrad in accounting, but I always knew I wanted to veer from accounting to digital marketing. Okay, and I'm just going to give one piece of advice right now. If you know that what you're currently studying or what you studied in university is very different from what you'd like to do for your master, or you want to veer into a different career path and you're just graduating, the tip I have for you is to use your NYSC year. Just listen, trust process. I studied accounting in my undergrad. At about 300 level, I already knew I wanted to switch from accounting into marketing, but I wasn't very sure of the area of marketing I wanted to switch to, and I wasn't also sure that I might end up, liking marketing, just because after studying accounting for so many years, I realized that I want to veer into a different career. So what I did was, after my final year, after I graduated, I applied to different marketing agencies so that I could get like a true feel of working in marketing. I applied to a marketing firm for my NYSC and I got posted there. So I worked for a year in the marketing firm and I was able to really see the different areas of marketing and realize that I really wanted to specialize in marketing, and also realized the area I wanted to specialize in marketing was digital marketing. That's literally my tip for you. Your NYSC year is the year after you're just graduating. You don't really have so much responsibility. Nobody expects you to have achieved so much. So that year is literally your trial year. You can use it to experiment. Okay, I studied biochemistry. I want to move into business administration. Try and get a business administration role during your NYSC. That's what I did and it really works for me. So that helped me solidify the fact that I wanted to study marketing. So at this point, I had realized what I wanted to study. So this is currently January 2025 and I started my relocation process in July of 2024. So in July, all I had to do was read up more on digital marketing and try and find courses related to digital marketing, campaign management, and social media strategy. Okay, so now I'm giving you a little tip for knowing what you want to study. So at this point, at the end of July 2024, I had already ascertained what I wanted to study. Next step now was finding a university that had that particular course. So I applied to a total of about 7 universities. That was at the beginning of July 2024. I applied to Salford University, I applied to Middlesex University, I applied to Bradford University, I applied to Leicester University, Liverpool University. I think that's as much as I remember. I applied to all those universities and I got responses from them within a period of 90 days. But I already knew I wanted to go to Salford University just because of their support for international students. We have the area where the school was located. I wanted to stay in Manchester, and also the school fees as well, because that's a big factor. Like, that's something you have to look at. So amongst all the schools I was looking at, Salford had the most affordable fees in relation to my course. Now, when I say resources for international students, I mean the fact that Salford University literally has like a payment plan of 7 installments from when you pay your first installment. So I'll dive into all that right now. After deciding on the university I wanted to apply to all 6 or 7 of them, and I got my response within 90 days from all of them. Like, I think the last response was like 90 days exactly. Like, that's 3 months. So that's also to inform you that if you want to start applying to a school, or the particular school you want to go to, it's also helpful to try applying as early as you can, just so you have your admission in the bag and you know that, okay, the next thing to do, get my cards, get my visa. I'm moving too fast. Okay, so the next thing I had to do was get my recommendation letter from my supervisor. So for most schools, they will ask you for an academic recommendation letter, but I think by the time you start to get to your visa, they might ask you for a professional recommendation letter. So I just got both at that time. I got my recommendation letter from one of my lecturers from undergrad university. So during the time I was waiting to get my academic recommendation letter and my professional recommendation letter from my manager at work, I also wrote up my personal statement. I feel like during the time you're writing your personal statement, that's when you would really realize like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, or this is what I want to do for the next phase of my life. After you write your personal statement, I know for most UK schools, they would require you to have an English test. So it must not be IELTS. For me, I used my WAEC. So you have to have above a C4 in your WAEC in English. You need your student transcripts and your international passports. After getting all these documents, I eventually applied to Salford University on the 13th of July 2024, and I got my conditional offer from them on the 16th of July 2024. That's literally like, I think 3 or 4 days later. So there's something called a conditional offer and an unconditional offer. Your conditional offer is like, yeah, okay, we are considering you for this course, but there are certain things that you need to provide. For some schools, you would have to provide maybe your graduation certificate, pay a deposit, provide some more documents, or do an interview. For Salford University, what I needed to do was pay a deposit. So their deposit amount is £5,500, and I think that's also one of the highest deposits. I also had admission at the University of Exeter at that time, and their deposit was about £2,000 if I remember accurately. So University of Exeter and Salford University were the first universities to give me admission, and it worked out in my favor because Salford University was actually the university I wanted to go to. I paid my deposit of £5,500 a month later on the 16th of August 2024. I don't have to worry about like, having to transfer pounds to someone in the UK or having to transfer naira. I didn't have to go through all that because Salford University has a payment platform with Flywire. So I paid using dollar. You can use naira through the Flywire platform. So I paid and it got to them about 4 days later. And after they got my payment, they sent me a payment confirmation, and then they offered me my unconditional offer. So at this point, your unconditional offer is the real deal. Like, it's the actual offer letter. So now you know that, okay, you have a placement in this particular course in this particular school for whatever semester you wanted to go for. Once I got my unconditional offer, I started my proof of funds process. I would not advise that for anyone. I feel like immediately you know the school you want to go to, try and check their deposit amount. Like, okay, if your school fees is £14,000 and they say, okay, to get your unconditional offer, you have to pay £2,000, you know that it's £12,000 that would be remaining for you to maybe pay before you travel or spread over whatever installment plan your school is offering. Now, the UKVI, that's the United Kingdom Visas and Immigration, they have a stipulation for what they call your maintenance fee. Okay, your proof of funds is your maintenance fee plus whatever is remaining from your school fees. So the UKVI already has a stipulated maintenance fee. So as at the time I was traveling, the maintenance fee was about £9,207. But right now, I think it has increased to about £1,000 something pounds. I'm not very sure of the amount. So it differs. If you're staying outside London, it's a bit cheaper. And if you're staying in London, it's a bit more expensive. So it will be that £9,207 plus whatever is remaining. So that will be, has to be your proof of funds account will be £9,207 or £10,000 in whatever case, whenever it is that you're traveling. So try and check the maintenance fee for that time to check if maybe they've changed it or it's still that amount. So I started my proof of funds after I got my unconditional offer. I also got a scholarship from my school, which is the Global Gold Excellence Scholarship, because I graduated with the first class in my undergraduate degree. So my school offers scholarships if you graduate with a first class or a second class upper in your undergraduate degree. So I think different schools have varying levels of scholarships, and also you might even probably have higher levels of scholarship depending on what you graduated with in your undergraduate degree. These are for school offered scholarships. So I got an automatic scholarship of £3,000 off my school fees. So my school fees was about £16,560. Scholarship, I'm paying about £13,560. In order to get my unconditional offer, I remember I paid a deposit of £5,500. So what was left was what I had to add to £9,207 as my proof of funds. So try and start your proof of funds before you even start applying. You need to apply to start your proof of funds is how much your school fees is going to be, how much the maintenance fee is, how much is the deposit, and just do your calculations and know what you should have in your proof of funds. So ideally, your proof of funds should have stayed for about 28 days or more in that particular account. So I submitted 6 months worth of proof of funds just to be on the safe side. You can submit more than 28 days, but I think the least amount that amount should have stayed in that account is 28 days, and you should not be submitting it more than a month. How do I explain this? Like, if your proof of funds has stayed in this account from the 1st of August to the 31st of August, like, you should be submitting your visa within 4 weeks of 31st of August. Like, you should not be submitting it in like December. Like, a date ending 31st of August, you should be submitting that in December. Do you understand? So now that's that about proof of funds. Okay, bonus tip. If you're using a Naira account for your proof of funds, try and have a little more. So let's say at the time time you're doing your proof of funds, the naira to dollar is like maybe 2,000 or 2,100. Try and use a rate of maybe 2,400 if you can, or 2,500 if you can, just so that you have a little more, because you know the naira just fluctuates a lot. Once I started my proof of funds, I then went for a TB test. That's a tuberculosis test. The UKVI already has some stipulated hospitals in Nigeria. I think they have one in Lagos, Benin, in Port Harcourt, and Abuja, if I'm not mistaken. So they have different hospitals. So I went to Q Life hospitals, Q Life family hospitals in Ikoyi, and I had to pay a sum of 90,000 naira to do my tuberculosis test. Now, the tuberculosis test is not much. You'd have to book an appointment on their website, and then you head into their office to do your test. The test takes about maybe 30 minutes to an hour. That's including the time you'll be waiting there. I mean, I took my test and I went back to work. So you can actually do so much more on that day. I did my TB test on the 22nd of August 2024. The next day or 2 days later, I got my certificate. So you have to go back to their office to pick it up. I don't know if they have an electronic version that they now email to you, but I had to go to their office to pick up my certificates, because you need that certificate for the next step. So in order to pick up my certificates, I had to go with my passport and proof of payment. The 90,000 naira I paid, proof of that. So that's what I had to go with to pick up my TB test. After I got my TB test, my proof of funds were ready, and then I applied for my CAS. So CAS means confirmation of acceptance. So you apply for that with your school. Now, to apply for my CAS, I needed about 5 documents. I needed my TB test. I needed my proof of funds. When I say proof of funds, like the account statement from the account where your proof of funds is. So I needed my account statement, and I needed a letter of permission, because if the money in the account is in your name, you don't need a letter of permission. But if it's in like a parent's account, like one of your parents or your guardian, you need a letter of permission from that person to you. I don't actually think you can have your proof of funds in a guardian's account. I think the highest you can have your proof of funds in is a parent's account or a sibling's account. You have to have a letter of permission from that person stating that they are this person, your birth certificate is attached, and they are related to you in this way, and that person has permitted you to use the funds in that account. So I had to have a letter of permission, my birth certificate, tuberculosis certificate, of course my passport, and of course my proof of funds. Immediately your school responds with your unconditional offer, they should send you an email with a link for you to apply for your CAS. So for my school, they sent me a link to apply for my CAS, but they also sent an email of some certain things that we're meant to do before we get our CAS. There were a set of questions that we're supposed to be able to answer, and when you're able to answer it, you just send that like a response that you can answer that to an email for the school. So that was how they qualified us for CAS. Now, you attach those documents in the link that they have provided. You answer the questions to know if you're owing the UK government, if you are traveled before, some questions like that. Press submit and submit those documents. So the CAS process, they let me know that it will take about 3 weeks. I got my CAS like maybe 10 days later. I applied for my CAS on 26th of August 2024, and I got my CAS on the 5th of September 2024. So your CAS is like, it's an email, but it's a number. It's a unique number for you that lets the UKVI know that your school has now granted you admission and you have a place and you're starting your process to come to the school, basically. So I got my CAS. At this point, I was applying with my friend who is now my flatmate. So I waited for her to also get her CAS, and then we applied for our visa. So I started the process of applying for my visa on the 24th of September 2024. So when you want to apply for your visa, you go to the UKVI website and then you click on apply for a visa, for a student visa. So I applied for my visa with TLS in VI, but I think they've switched now from TLS to VFS. So whatever applies to you, so try and like read up on the current rules. So I applied with TLS, and I just had to book, no, I did not just have to book my appointment. I'm so sorry for that. I actually had to fill a lot of forms. I can tell you that at least you need like an hour to fill like all the questions they're going to ask us, because there are a lot of questions. And I also think it's worthy to state right now that I and my flatmates did everything without having an agent. So you can definitely do this without an agent. All the questions on the website, they are easy questions that you just have to think about and say the truth. You don't necessarily need an agent to answer all those questions. It is self-upload. So I just uploaded my documents. That is, when I went for my biometrics later on, I wasn't bringing my documents, which I think is much more easier. So while I was applying for my visa on the website, I answered all the questions. They will ask you so many questions, ask you if you've had a visa denial, visa refusal before, and I just feel like you should just be honest, just state everything. They would ask you what you're coming for, your CAS number, what you're studying, you have a place to stay when you're coming. If you don't have a place to stay yet, you can just put your university address, family in the UK you're coming for, and then the documents that you have to submit. So I submitted my transcript, CAS, my birth certificate, my letter of permission, my account statement for the proof of funds, an academic recommendation letter, a professional recommendation letter, my letter of employment with the company I was working with for my NYSC, the visa application form. Definitely, I always advise that as much documents as you can submit to show how legit you are, to show that you have the money and you're committed. When you submit, it will take you to another website where you have to pay for your international health surcharge. I think that's what it's called, but it's called IHS fee. But it's insurance health surcharge. I'm so sorry, I don't remember. So depending on the course you're studying, I think if you're studying a 1-year course, you pay the health surcharge for 1 year. If you're studying a 15-month course, I think you pay for 1 year as well. I think if you're now studying like a 16 or 17 months course, you pay for 2 years. I'm not very sure. Please verify your information. Disclaimer, this is my experience. I think if you're doing a 15 months course, you pay for 2 years. I think so, yeah. If you're doing a 15 months course, you pay for 2 years. If you're doing a 16-month course, you pay for 2 years. Yeah, that's it. My course is 12 months, so I paid for a year. I think for that, you can't use a Naira card. So at this point, you have to get a dollar card or find somebody that has a dollar card or somebody that has a pounds card, but it has to be an international card because your Naira card would not work on the TLS website anyways. So I used a dollar card to pay for my IHS fee, and then after that loads, they'll take you to the visa website where you now pick your biometrics date. At this point in time, I had not submitted any documents, so I was panicking because I was like, I just answered all those questions on the visa website and I've still not submitted any documents yet. Like all these documents I mentioned, I had not submitted them yet. I just answered all the questions on the website, and then it took me to pay for my IHS. I paid for the IHS. It took me to another site where you now have to pick your biometrics date. So I think my biometrics date was on the 2nd of October because there was a rally or something for the 1st of October. So I was really and also 1st of October was Independence Day, so they were not open. But on the 2nd of October, I booked it. But I was very scared that they would move my appointment because of the rally that was going to happen on the 1st of October. Anyways, so after paying on the IHS, and they take you to the biometrics website where you pick your dates. After you pick your dates, they will ask you if you want to do a priority service, super priority, or whatever. I can't give you much information on those because I just did a standard service. I just picked a date, a time that was comfortable for me. I went in the morning. They'll take you to a different site where you now pay for your visa. So the student visa is about £490, and then your IHS fee is about £1,600. Together is about £2,000, £1,100. So just translate that to Naira equivalent, and that's what you'll be paying. So they'll take you to the site where you pay for your visa, and then finally you now submit your documents. Because at this point I was already panicking because I had not submitted any documents and I had paid twice, so I was really panicking. Anyway, so I submitted all my documents and then my date was secure. So they'll send you a confirmation email of your date. So I went for my biometrics on the 2nd of October. All I had to carry when I was going for my biometrics was my passport and my visa application form, the first page of your visa application form. So I got there during my slot. There was no wastage of time. I got there, I sat down, it was time. I went, they attended to me, I submitted my passport, I submitted that document, I did my biometrics of all my fingers, and that was it. And then they told me we'll be in touch with you within the next 3 weeks. So I went back home. On the 9th of October, I got an email saying that my visa application had been successful and I should go and pick up my passport. I was so happy, but I didn't know if that was confirmation of the fact that my visa had been approved. So I went the next day and I went to pick up my passport and my visa had been approved. I was so happy because I was very scared that it was going to actually take 3 weeks, but at the end it ended up taking about 6 or 8 days. Yeah, 7 days, about 7 days, and I got my visa. So after I got my visa, I knew that okay, I'm traveling. Okay, everything is. I was so excited, and about 2 weeks later, on the 24th of October, I booked my tickets. So with flight ticket, I would just advise you to monitor it for like 2 weeks and try and see if it's dropping or if it's increasing. If it's dropping or if it's increasing. If it's dropping, just try and wait and see, maybe it might drop a bit. But if it's increasing, please just buy a ticket. Buy the ticket. So I wanted to stay at the window seat. That's the reason why I booked it so early, because I wanted to that window seat. I didn't want a situation where I would have to pick from leftover seats and all that. Okay, now we've addressed everything visa, CAS, student application related, and now we dive into accommodation. So I and my flatmates, at this point we had gotten our visas. It was the end of October. We had both gotten our visa, and we had also been passively searching for an apartment for let's say like a month. month or two. We actually were passively searching since like August or September. We're passively searching just once in a while we search. So the main platforms we used to search was Zoopla, we used On the Market, we used Rightmove, and we also knew the area we wanted to stay in close to our school, and we're just searching like buildings around that area or agencies letting around that area so that we can find a place to stay. So we had certain stipulations, but like the main stipulation was a 2-bedroom apartment within walking distance from our school. And okay, by the time we had both gotten our visas, it was like we need to find a place like fast, because we wanted to find a place before we got to Manchester. We didn't want to come to Manchester, pay for an Airbnb or pay for a hotel for days and then have to like be searching. And to be honest, I'm very thankful that we did that, because the whole process of getting an apartment also takes time from when you find the apartment. It's not just finding the apartment and then all good. Like after finding the apartment, there are certain checks they have to do on you because you're an international student. They don't know you, they don't know your background. So there are certain checks they have to do, and that takes a lot of time. So my advice when searching for a place is, I have a few tips actually. My few tips when searching for a place is be very meticulous. Be very meticulous. Search as much places as you want to stay. If you know you want to stay in a flat, like an apartment building, like you want to stay in an apartment building, search apartment building and try and make sure that whatever place you pick, if it's within your hour, try and make sure that whatever place you pick is within walking distance to your school. 40 minutes walking distance, 30 minutes walking distance, 20 minutes walking distance. If you are lucky enough, you find a place 5 minutes away from your school, that's very good, because using the bus to go to school and having to use the bus to go to school and come back is also another expense as an international student that you have to watch out for. So try and make sure that your school is also walking distance from whichever place that you pick, or whatever house that you pick, or whatever place that you pick. Then try and also find letting agencies within the area where you want to stay and email them to see if they have any apartments, or they have any houses, or they have any rooms, or they have any shared apartments that they are currently letting out for the period you want to let an apartment. Now, because you are still in Nigeria or still in your home country, you might not be able to search or check the apartments yourself. Now, there are certain options. If you have somebody in the UK, if you know someone in the UK, you can call them and ask them to please help you check the apartment. There are also companies or websites that offer that for you, going to go and check the apartment for you. Now, if you don't have anybody and you can't, and you don't want to pay anybody to check your apartment for you, set up a Zoom call. Tell them that you will check it virtually, not just pictures, not just videos. Do a Zoom call. Let the agent go there, video the corners, check for mold, check the area to walk into that place. Google as much as you can. Let's say you're staying in Oldfield Street. Check Oldfield Street. Go and check the safety of the place. Check. You can use POE. POE is an AI platform connected to Reddit where you can search, like you can ask like proper real life questions like, oh, what's the security there? Flood level there? Does this place flood? How is it when it rains in this area? Is there mold in this area? Check Google reviews about that building. Check Google reviews about that letting agency that you're about to partner with. Check as much as you can. Now, so we searched for a place for a while. I had to check a lot of things. I wanted to know if there was mold. I wanted to see the apartment. So we had somebody go check it out for us, and we're very grateful for that. We also had a lot of videos, a lot of pictures. If you can also speak to the current tenants in that place, because you might not be the first person renting out that place. If you can speak to the current tenants there, that would be very nice. Speak to them, ask them enough questions about the area, ask them enough questions about the house. Does it have leaky taps? How much do they pay for electricity? How much do they pay for water? Do they use gas? What's the heating like there? Is the place security conscious? Is there a guard? Do robberies normally happen here? Ask questions. Ask enough questions, because you're moving to a new man's land. You can't move to a new man's land and you now start having so many different problems with your accommodation, because there are so many other things that you have to take care of as an international student, and having problems with your accommodation should not be part of your package. So try and ask as much questions as you can, and this is only if you're trying to get an apartment before you're moving. But also when you get there, also ask, like if you're also searching when you get there. Now we finally found a place on the 12th of November, and at this point I was so happy because we did so much searching. You know, you kiss so many frogs, you don't find the prince. So that was it. Like, we had spoken to so many agencies, we had spoken to so many apartment buildings before we found our apartment. I'm super excited. So now when you find your apartment, that's not the only thing. You say, okay, I want to get this apartment. There's something called a holding deposit. That's if it's currently posted on Rightmove, or it's posted on Zoopla or On the Market. Even if it's not posted, I think you still have to pay a holding deposit. So let's say your rent is about £500. Now they might tell you that your holding deposit is maybe £150 for them to hold it. During the holding period is the time where they are checking all your documents, checking to see if they're actually going to give you this apartment. So they need some sort of guarantee from you that they're not just checking you in vain. So out of that £500 that is your rent for the first month, you might have to pay like £150 as your holding deposit. It's going to be taken out of your first month's rent. Pay the holding deposit. Afterwards, they checked us. So they used a platform called Vouch, and we had to submit our guarantors. We had to submit so many things, to be honest. They had to check our guarantors, and I think it differs from place to place where you want to rent and certain areas of UK. But Manchester is a bit more strict with the whole guarantor thing. So you have to have a guarantor because, as I mentioned, they don't know you. They don't know where you're coming from. They don't know if you'll be able to pay your rent. So if you're an international student and you're not able to pay, because they might require you to pay 12 months upfront of your rent, and that's a lot. Like, imagine you're paying £500 for rent. That means that for 12 months you have to pay about £6,000. That's a lot. If you're not able to pay that amount upfront, you have to get a guarantor. They have different stipulations. Sometimes your guarantor has to be earning maybe 15 times your monthly rent as his annual salary or her annual salary. Maybe the person has to be earning 30 times your monthly rent. Maybe the person has to be a UK citizen. So just try and find out the stipulations and see if you can get a guarantor. If you cannot get a guarantor, you might have to pay upfront. They even do that for student accommodations, the fact that you have to pay upfront, like the 12 months, or they might make you pay 6 months upfront. So for us in our apartments, we paid 6 months upfront because of the kind of agreement we had with our landlord. After you pay that deposit and they're doing their checks on you, they do their checks on your guarantor as well. They check your guarantor's credits to see if he's not owing or she's not owing a large amount of money to the government or something like that. They check if the person is a criminal, then they'll let you know, okay, you pass the referencing check. Okay, yeah, they call it referencing, and now we can give you the apartment. If you're staying in a flat, in an apartment building, I think you have to pay what they call a holding deposit. No, sorry, you have to pay a security deposit. So the security deposit is like what we call caution fee in Nigeria. So it's like an amount that is not your rent, or I think it's about 5 weeks of your rent. Like, let's say you're paying 500 a month or 600 a month. That means your weekly rent is 150, right? So 150 times 5, that's 750. That would be your security deposit. So we had to make a security deposit, and we had to. So the security deposit is you drop it with them, and then at the end of your tenancy period is 12 months. So at the end of 12 months, they'll come and look at the apartment. Okay, did you break anything? Did you fix anything? Did you break the rules? And then they will decide if they're going to give you your security deposit back, your full security deposit back, or half of it, or quarter of it, or whatever. So we had to pay security deposit, and then we had to pay our rent as much as you can. If you can, try and pay 6 months up front. It just, when you come in, there's a lot of financial burden, and having to pay your rent every month can kind of add to that. So, and you also be looking for a job. There's so many things regarding your settling in that. So it just gives you a bit of peace, like fresh air, like, okay, I can breathe and try and settle into the financial obligations of this new area. So I would say that the referencing, paying the holding deposit, everything took a period of about 3 weeks. So if we were in Manchester, that would have been 3 weeks that would have been paying for a hotel, or 3 weeks that would have had to stay with somebody, or 3 weeks that would have had to pay for an Airbnb. So now I think we've come to the end of my whole process. Got our accommodation, we got our tenancy agreements, we signed. We had to do an online registration for our school in December. So they opened the portal and we had to sign up, start the registration process. That's for Salford University. After signing up, you had to book a check-in appointment to submit your passport and other things when you get to school in January. Or if you are around in Manchester already in December, you could have done that. So I did my check-in appointment the following year in January. When I came in, I had to go to school the next day, which was Monday, and do my check-in appointment, which is basically submit my passport. Okay, our tenancy actually started day after we arrived. So the night we arrived, we had to find somewhere to stay. We had to actually get a hotel at the end. So we got a hotel to stay in for a night, and it was really, really comfortable, really nice, and it was okay. We settled into the hotel once our flight arrived, and then the next day we went and collected our keys and checked into our beautiful apartment. And by this time, you should have already seen our apartment, my apartment tour, and it is lovely. It has been an amazing experience so far. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching my relocation process. I hope I was able to answer most of your questions, if not all. If you have any more questions, you can put them in the comments down below and I would respond as much as I can. Now, also disclaimer, this was my experience. It might not be your experience, and you may have experienced something different. This is just my experience. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this vlog, please like, comment, tell me your favorite part of this video, or a part of the process that you did not expect to happen, and also tell me your experience moving as well. Click the post notification because so much more better content is coming now that we're in Manchester. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. See you in my next video.